Thanks for joining us for this NBC5 Community Conversations. I'm Vince Sims. We are joined today by Trent Shelton, who is, among other things, an author. We're going to be talking about your book that we have here, but go ahead and tell us about yourself, who you are, where you're from.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Vince. So, born in Little Rock, Arkansas, lived in Louisiana for a little bit, but I'm a Fort Worth kid. North Crowley, where I graduated school from, played football there, basketball there, and ended up getting a scholarship to Baylor. So went down to Waco, played ball there for 5 years, and I got a chance to make my dream come true in the NFL. So spent 3 years in the NFL, the Colts, Seahawks, Redskins. My career was up and down, but it led me to what I do now. I met my beautiful wife while I was playing, and we have 3 kids. And so I'm a father, I'm a mentor, coach, and just somebody who wants to help people's lives.
All right. As you talk about that, your mentor, your coach, and like your career has led you to where you are now. So let's talk a little bit more about that career. You lived your dreams of making it to the NFL.
Yeah.
But it wasn't everything that you were hoping was going to be, right?
Oh, not at all. I always tell people, like, making my dream come true ended up being my biggest nightmare. People see the Sunday. They don't see the business side. They don't see the guys getting cut. And I was an undrafted free agent, so it was tough for me to make the team. Ended up making the practice squad, but I'll never forget. I was up there for 2 weeks. I got a call into the office, and hey, bring your playbook. And I got released, so I had to drive from Indy all the way back to Texas. And that was pretty much my career. I got cut probably over 9 times, 3 different teams in 3 years. So it was I had a very unstable life. I mean, there's times where I got cut walking off the practice field, and I had the best practice ever. So it really brought me down mentally, and it brought me to my rock bottom.
Let's talk about that. Brought you to your rock bottom.
Yeah.
What was your rock bottom like?
My rock bottom was hard. I mean, the best way I can have people relate to this is just imagine the thing that is your everything, and you get that everything and you lose it. I mean, since I was 4 years old, Vince, that's all that I knew. And like, I never worked a 9 to 5. They say student athlete, but if you try to work an internship, it's not happening. So it was just, this is all that I knew. It's all I wanted to be. And so when I lost that, I lost my identity. So who am I now? Everybody knows me around the city as Trent Shelton, the NFL player. And I no longer have that title and identity. So who do I become? And at that rock bottom, I turned to things that I shouldn't have turned to, trying to fill that void, a lot of empty fulfillment. And the thing that changed my life was, being honest, the birth of my son, because that's the first moment I realized that somebody's following my footsteps and I got to get my life right.
So the birth of your son had an impact on you, but there was also a loss that also affected you and impacted you. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so in 2011, July 4th weekend, I'll never forget, I got a call on my cell phone, and it was a person I went to school with. She worked at the coroner's office, and she said, "Hey, Anthony's here." And it didn't register to me. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Anthony's here." She said, "I work at the coroner's office. I can't tell you too much information, but he's here." And then I started getting texts into my phone that my best friend, my college roommate, my teammate at Baylor, he had committed suicide. And I was actually going on my way to Dallas to my other roommate's house that we all lived together, and went over there, man. We just broke down because you don't realize like what people are going through, and I felt guilty at the time. I put a lot of blame on myself, not being the friend I should have been. But going to his funeral changed everything for me. And then I made a promise to myself that I'm going to live the rest of my days helping people with their self-worth. I want people to know just because something is over doesn't mean your life is over. There's more to your life. And I just wish I would have gave him that message. But now I smile because he's more alive in my life than he's ever been. We reach millions of people across the world, and I can honestly say it's because of that decision I made and that promise I made to him on that day at his funeral.
So those two life-changing things, son being born, friend committing suicide, dying by suicide, you started a nonprofit off of this. And tell me about how you named it and what's the meaning behind this name.
Yeah, so the nonprofit is called Rehab Time. And just to be real with you, Vince, the first words that came to my mind was just rehab. And I think it was because of sports. You get hurt, you go to rehab, the process is hard, you got to have patience. Sometimes you come back before you're ready to come back and you get hurt again. So it taught you this process of patience. And I realized in my life, like, there's some things I need to rehab, mind, body, and soul, which means putting the strength back into a weakness. And so what did I do? At that time, I wasn't reading books. I wasn't in the personal development. And I said, I'm going to start reading books, because in order to, obtain knowledge you don't have, you have to read. I started working on my body, because I was still hanging on football a little bit, but I would go to 24-hour fitness at 12 a.m. in the morning. with a few friends, and we dedicated our life to just working on our body, working on our mental, and then soul-wise with my faith, I got into my word, got back in the church, and that was just my rehab time process, and it was for me. Like, I had no thought of being a speaker. I have no thought of writing books. It was like, it was a saying for me to get my life right, like a trigger to say, okay, it's rehab time. Let's take care of these 3 things. And it's amazing to see, you know, where God brought it today.
So you had no path or plan to be a motivational speaker, but you are one. How did you get started with that? What was your first time, and what was that experience like for you?
So the funny thing is, if you were to ask my dad, and you say, hey, if you had to bet out of your 3 sons, I have 2 older brothers, who would be your least pick of being a speaker? It would be me. Like, I'm introverted by nature, and people trip out. It's so funny because people who know me before this, they're like, I can't believe Trent is speaking. Like, he doesn't even talk. And people who know me now is like, I can't believe you're an introvert. So I got an opportunity, and this was my very first speaking engagement, and with Dr. Tony Evans out there in Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. His son Jonathan, we were teammates at Baylor. We spent some time with the Redskins together, and he always told me, he said, man, like, you don't talk a lot, but I've been around speakers my whole entire life. You have something. And a few years from that conversation, he invited me to an event. And it was about seemed like 5,000. Maybe it was 2,200, but it seemed like 5,000 youth. And I was terrified because I think the hardest audience to speak to is teenagers, because I know I was when I was a teenager. So I tried to talk myself out of it, but he said, hey, just go up there and do it. I go up there and I prepare the whole night before. I'm like, okay, I'm going to just talk about sports. I'm going to just talk about maybe even music, and they'll just like that. Literally, I get up to the microphone and stage fright hit me. I literally went blank. I'm like, what do I do? And I just remember saying these words, God used me. And I came from my heart, and I just started speaking, and it was probably 2 or 3 minutes long. And I got off stage, and Jonathan was like, hey, this is what you were created to do. He said, I've never seen a group of kids stay that locked in and be that focused on the information being presented. And so the ironic thing, Vince, I was supposed to go to arena football that day in New Orleans. But I asked my coach and said, hey, I have a speaking engagement. Do you mind if I do this? He said, oh, yeah, sure. I already knew I didn't want to go to New Orleans. I didn't want to play. And I said, you know what? I said, God, if this is what's meant for my life, just let me know. And that was the sign. So I called my coach and I said, hey, I'm not coming. He's like, what you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to do this thing rehab time. I'm going to speak. He said, all right, and hung up in my face. Wow. I called my friends because I wanted some reassurance. Called a few of my friends, and they were like, a few of them got it, but most of them were like, Trent, you ain't like to talk, man. Like your past is kind of like, what? And most of my friends didn't get it. And then I called the people that really mattered the most was my mom and my dad, and I was hoping that my dad answered, because my mom, you know, she was the woman that's going to ask a lot of questions. My dad's the easy conversation. And my mom picked up, and I said, Mom, I'm done playing football. She said, what you going to do? And I said, I'm going to be a speaker. And it got quiet, like so quiet I had to look at the phone, like, is it still on? And she said, okay, well, like, how do you know this is right? And I told her, I said, you know, I never felt so much peace and certainty in the midst of my biggest fear. It's just the knowing inside of me that there's no external validation. There wasn't no video views or anything like that. I said, I just know it in my soul. This is it. And she said, that's God speaking to you. And she just gave me the reassurance and permission to go after my dream. And within months, that's when the videos on Facebook started taking off.
Wow. What has this been like, following your passion and doing this compared to the NFL stepping out there? I mean, how do you compare these two? How it's worked out?
You know, it's a lot of similarities. I mean, you know, there's big audiences. I think with the NFL, obviously, you have more fans. And I always tell people don't believe me, but I always say, I would rather do this than play football, because football, you're entertaining, but when I'm doing this, I'm actually doing my best to shift some lives and change some lives. And so I think a lot of mental comparisons are similar and things like that in preparation. But this is way more fulfilling than anything else. Like, it's way more fulfilling than catching a touchdown, to know that getting the message, hey, my friend didn't commit suicide because of this video, or you helped restore our relationship or something like that. That's way more fulfilling than a touchdown to me.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk. I know that you're an author. You've had 3 books. This is your 3rd one that's getting ready to come out and be released. Tell me about this latest book?
Yeah, so it's Protect Your Peace. And these are words that became a lifestyle for me really in 2015, but I started saying this in 2009. In 2015, it became this lifestyle because I was on a 32-city tour, my own tour. We were doing all the major cities, and I was burnt out, Vince. I was smiling for the camera, but dying behind the scenes. I was making everybody feel happy, but I was miserable inside. And I'll never forget, I was in San Francisco at my event, and I was crying backstage. I didn't let my team know it. You know, I kind of went in my corner. Tell me, it's just allergies, I'm all right. But I went out there and I inspired everybody, about 1,000 people. I go backstage and I'm bawling like a baby, and I go out to this alleyway. It's like a movie. I go out to this alleyway, and I'm standing there crying, getting some fresh air, and I see this guy, seemed like a homeless man, walking down the alley. And he said, "Hey, like, you're the guy everybody's here to see. You're the guy on the marquee." And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, it must suck to be you. And I said, I kind of took offense to that. And he said, no. He's like, you know, you look like you're crying, and everybody's here to see you. And so I tried to shut him off, and I reached in my pocket to give him some money to just have him going about his past. Oh, no, I don't need that. He said, don't feel sorry for me. I feel sorry for you. He said, yeah, on the outside, I might look like I have nothing, but I have everything because I have peace. He says, you have everything on the outside, but internally, it looks like you have nothing because you don't have peace. And in that moment is when I decided to make peace my priority. And so writing this book has been a journey. Like, this is a book that's been a 10-year in the making book, but it's the perfect time with 2020 happening, my mother passing away, and all these things, and we can get to that story too. Like, it's kind of like I could have wrote this then, but I'm actually in the season of actually really learn how to protect my peace in this moment. So this book is going to help people quiet the internal, no matter what's going on outside of you. You can't control the chaos around you, but you can control having the chaos disturb the calm inside you. And so that's the journey that I take people on.
Wow, that's powerful right there, how you got to this point. And Protect Your Peace is the name of the book here. So give me a little bit more about what somebody who reads this book is going to be able to take away from it. Yeah,
number one, we break it off in 3 sections. So number one is protect your energy. Protect your energy from the things that drain it. We often think we have an infinite amount of energy. We don't, right? And most of us, we use our energy on things that don't reciprocate it. We use our energy on the wrong things. And so it's a 9-principle book with three main topics. And the first one is setting boundaries. And I walk people through this journey of boundaries aren't bad. When we hear the word boundaries, we think it's some wall we have to put up and keep people out. No, boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges. Boundaries aren't walls to just keep things out unless it's necessary. It's more so bridges to let the right things in. Another principle that I take people on under Protect Your Energy is demanding your worth and understanding that you're worth it. Most of our worth is attached to outside things. When I lost football, I lost myself because my worth was tied to NFL football team. My worth is tied to how many people follow me online. So I tell you, you have to cut the strings and attach your worth to something that's more permanent. For me, it's my faith. The second part of this is protect your mind from the things that disturb it. One of the main principles in that section is trust your vision. And this is the thing that I know a lot of people watching this are definitely in this place where you have a vision, just like I had. I had a vision that I would, eventually be on stages once it was spoken to my life or to create these videos. But when I told people, nobody got the vision. Nobody understood it. People thought I was crazy. My friends was like, bro, what are you doing? But I realized that when a vision has been given to you, it's not meant for other people to see until you fulfill it. And so I walk people through that process to be able to trust your vision, despite if there's external alignment, despite if you have support, despite if people believe in you. You have to believe in yourself. And then the last part is protect your soul. And this is probably my favorite part of the book. Protect your soul from the things that don't fulfill it. And one of the main principles in Protect Your Soul is simplify happiness. And this is something that my daughter, even all my kids, they taught me, but especially my daughters, Maya and Marley, because if you watch a child, now they'll get angry quick, but they can switch so quick and they find happiness so easy. So I'll never forget, it was probably a few years ago, and Marley comes into the room, and she's happy that it's morning time. She's singing a morning song, just happy that it's morning, brushing her teeth. Maya's the same way. Tristan, he was a kid, and I was like, man, like as adults, when did we make happiness so complicated? You know, most people, our happiness checklist is Starbucks line got to be short, right? I can't have any traffic, and like literally, we're making it impossible to be happy. And so I really help people simplify. It's like, what if happiness was so easy to obtain, you have no choice but to obtain it? Maybe I'm happy because I have the roof over my head. Maybe I'm happy because I have love around me. And so I walk people on that journey of protecting your energy, protecting your mind, and protecting your soul.
That is powerful right there. Trent, I appreciate you sharing all this with us, and it sounds amazing. If people want to find the book, buy the book, and follow along on your journeys, how do they go about doing this?
For sure. Social media is just at Trent Shelton on all socials. I'll pop up. TrentShelton.com. It's probably the easiest place to get it. If you don't want to go there, anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, you'll be able to find the book.
All right. Trent, man, thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us, and the journey that you're on. Hope you continue to keep inspiring others.
Thank you, Vince. I appreciate you.
You are welcome, and thank you for joining us for this NBC5 Community Conversations.